Welcome back to another video. In today's video, I am going to share with you how to answer unexpected interview questions. So if you're here for the first time, my name is Nelly, and if you're a returning viewer, thank you so much. In this channel, I share content on personal, professional, career growth, and job search strategy topics to help you build a rewarding and fulfilling careers. So if this is something that you like to see again and again, please take time to subscribe to this channel. Put on the notification bell so you're notified every time I share content. So unexpected interview questions, which are sometimes referred to as curveball questions, are asked by the interview panel to just see how a candidate can think out of the box, how a candidate behave when something unexpected happens, or to test their thought process and to test their personality. And the reason I've decided to speak about these questions, guys, is because people find them very weird. Of course, sometimes they're very weird anyway, because they're questions that are not necessarily related to the job that you're interviewing for. And sometimes they can also be questions that test personal life or ask questions about personal life. And somebody will be wondering, so how does my, whatever question that it is, if you're asked a question that, touches on your personal life and you're in an interview. There's a time I'd put a post up on LinkedIn and I was just asking guys on what is the weirdest question that you've ever gotten from an interview. I think the comments were overwhelming, what people were being asked in interviews. I remember one specific one, somebody had said that they were asked if their husband knew they had come for that interview. One said that they were asked if their supervisor or their current line manager knew that they had come for the interview. So, they are weird questions. They're unexpected because they are off the job that you're interviewing for. They are not anything typically to do with the information that is in the job description. So you're wondering, why then will the panel ask you such a question? What does it have to do with your suitability or the assessment that they're doing for your fit for the job? So in this video, I'm going to share some of the reasons that a panel can ask those questions, why they're asked, and of course just to help you then, if they come as weird as they are, how then do you handle them to just ensure that they do not disqualify you, or you do not get disqualified on the basis of maybe, I don't want to say answering wrongly, because really sometimes there's no wrong answer to these questions, but maybe these questions can trigger emotions. And I've seen people blow up, people just walk out and say, you know what, if that's what you're asking me, then I'd rather not just listen to you or be part of this interview. So yeah, if this is something that you want to learn, then I'm sure you want to stick with me till the end of this video. So here are some of the reasons why you can be asked these unexpected interview questions in a job interview. So one of the reasons is to test your problem solving skills, because some of these questions they usually come like maybe giving a scenario. So for instance, if you're asked, imagine you're in the office and two of your colleagues are fighting, physical fighting. How would you go about it? You'll wonder now, how does my colleagues fighting, what does my colleagues fighting have to do with my suitability for the job? So they actually test how you respond to uncertain or sudden occurrences or situations that bring a lot of pressure. You can also be asked, maybe one of the weird questions that I've also seen is that you're being asked, imagine you found your parents drowning and you were to save them. Who will you save first? So these questions test things around your problem solving skills, your thought process. How is your thought process? So that's why we are going to see, as I just share with you how to answer these questions, you will see how you're supposed to answer so that it doesn't come like it is a guesswork, but it comes out like you've thought through that answer. They'll also test your culture fit. Most of these questions actually test your culture fit, especially if you're asked questions around your personality. Maybe you're being asked a question like, if you're an animal, which animal would you be? If you are a pet, which pet would you be? If you're food, which food would you want to be? So they test aspects around your culture fit in that organization. They could also test how you handle pressure. And in terms of handling pressure, because some of these questions are weird, and you realize that some people get so much offended and they can even walk out of an interview. Like if you're asked, did your husband know you're coming for the interview, or did your wife know that you're coming for the interview? They can become very offensive. So how do you handle them? They also test your anger levels, like, you know, how you deal with your emotions. Will you just bulge out and just tell the interviewer, even though you find the question inappropriate, but how do you handle it in a way that is calm and in a way that is professional? So they also test your personality, you know, like if you're asked, for instance, if I was asked which animal would you be if you're an animal, and you say maybe like a lion. So why do you link yourself to a lion? Maybe because lion is brave, maybe because of the aspect of courage, you know. So these questions, basically, just in summary, they're testing personality, they're testing your problem solving skills, they're testing your critical thinking skills, they're testing your thought process, they're testing how you handle pressure and different scenarios and situations that may come up in the workplace from time to time. And they're also testing your culture fit. So that's why it is important that you really understand how then do you answer these questions to avoid appearing rude, or rather to avoid appearing as a mismatch, or to avoid bringing out a personality that may not align with what the recruiter or the employer is looking for. So as I already said, some of the reasons that make people get very upset with these questions is that they touch on personal life and they may not be related to the job that you're being interviewed for. So now let's see how you can answer this question by just sharing a few tips on what you need to consider. The first thing you need to consider when answering these questions is to stay calm and professional. I say stay calm and professional because some of the questions can be shocking. You know, if somebody asks you something that is so personal, like the examples that I've just shared, the first reaction, of course, is to be shocked. I mean, why are you even asking me that? Why does a question to do with my parents drowning? What does a question to do with my parents drowning have with this interview? What does a question to do with my husband? You know, what does a question to do with my current boss has to do with this interview? So they shock you and they throw you into a world of countless questions of why, and just trying to find the relevance with the question. So you need to stay calm first, and you need to stay professional. I say professional so that you limit what you say, you limit how you react, and you balance your emotions. So you do not display a personality that the interviewer will not be pleased with. The next way to answer this question, or what you need to just take into consideration, is to adopt, or rather take an hypothetical view. Hypothetical view simply means that, you know, not all these questions you're going to be asked are actually things you've experienced. For instance, I said if you ask that you went to the office, or you're in the office, then two of your colleagues were fighting, how would you do? Maybe you've never experienced your colleagues fighting. You must have not experienced them fighting. So you need to answer in a way that shows what would you do if, in that instance, you are in an environment that your colleagues were fighting. What would you do if that scenario happened? So that's why it's quite important to approach it in an hypothetical view and answer in a way that shows what you will do. So you will start your answer by saying something like, even though I have never experienced my colleagues fighting, but in an instance where my colleagues will fight in my presence, this is what I would do. So it actually shows that you've taken the question through a very clear thought process, and it also brings you out as somebody who's a solution oriented. So then, because you're able to provide a solution to an incident that you must have not necessarily experienced, but should you experience it, you're able to actually come out with a very clear process of how you'll handle that situation. The next thing is that never focus on being right, guys. I say that there's no right answer to such questions. Because even if they asked you if your parents were drowning, who will you rescue first? Even if you say your dad, who actually goes to verify that? But the whole essence is to understand your thought process, or, you know, and also to test in terms of your preference, in terms of your personality. It tests quite a number of things. So you don't need to focus on being right and thinking, oh, will I rescue my mother? Oh, will I rescue my father? But be more logical. It calls for a more logical thinking and authenticity. And, you know, I always believe it is through authenticity that you display the true person that you are, that you display the true personality that you possess. So never focus on being right. Think so hard about it. Never focus on being right, even if you're answering the question of if your colleagues were fighting. There is really no right or wrong answer. The key thing is to remain logical. The key thing is to remain authentic while answering. And the key thing is to actually say it as you would do it. And that's still the aspect of authenticity. So never ever focus or kill yourself for being right. You know, I want to find it right. You don't need to really think so deeply about it, but you need to think quite logically about it. So let your answers, that's the next one, let your answers reveal your logical, or rather a thoughtful process. And maybe just to explain this point, for instance, I gave an example and I said one of the questions can be, if you were to be an animal, which animal would you be? I said I will be a lion. So why? You know, somebody will be wondering, okay, now somebody can even ask you now, why a lion? So you'll say, if I was to be an animal, I will be a lion. And of course, the reason I will be a lion is because I consider myself somebody who is very confident, somebody who is courageous, somebody who is bold. And you see, you can automatically link those traits to a lion. And you consider yourself somebody who is very bold in terms of how you handle, or in terms of how you live your life. So you realize that those attributes automatically reflect those of a lion. So then there's a thought process on how actually you've arrived to this answer. So don't just say, you know, if I was to be an animal, I will be. If you say I will be a dog, just say, why then? Why then would you be a dog? You know, show that there's a thoughtful process behind your answers. The next thing you need to do is to, if you're not sure of how you want to answer immediately, even though I said you don't need to be like focus on getting the right, but you know, sometimes these questions can shock you until you even wonder now, where do I start from? So if you're not pretty sure, just ask for time. Just say, maybe that's an interesting question. I, however, request you give me more time, and you can answer it later. There's no rush. Because there's really no right answer or wrong answer for these questions. So it is important that if you're not sure, just ask for more time. Then you can come back to this question later, maybe at the end of the interview, or once they're done with asking all the questions, instead of rushing and answering in a way that will display maybe a personality that you don't want to be known for, or somebody who you are not. So you can just ask for time to answer this question at the end of the interview. The next consideration you can make is always when you're actually preparing for an interview, prepare yourself with a few stories that you can always tell in different aspects of an interview. And I'll give you an example. You need to prepare yourself by having some stories that you can tell to display your leadership quality, because an interview, for whatever level, it will test your leadership, especially if it's not an entry-level interview. So prepare yourself with stories. The first stories that you can always have is stories that reveal your leadership quality. You can also prepare yourself with stories that can reveal your previous achievements. You know, so these stories can be around the things that you have done. And you find that because these questions, these unexpected questions, may be testing things around leadership, and I said they can also be testing things around your achievement, the previous achievements. What type of solutions have you been able to register, or have you brought in your previous work? So they can also be testing things around your previous experience. They can also be testing things around your ability to solve problems. So you can come up with stories around your previous achievements, around your previous experiences, and also come up with stories around, like I said, around leadership. So if you have these stories and you practice these questions, how to answer the unexpected questions before an interview, then it will really not shock you, because you're already prepared for it. Even though you might not tell the exact question that you can be asked, but at least with that confidence of preparation, you can quickly jump and get an answer for whatever question that they ask you. So also, as you prepare stories, think about how you overcame previous challenges. Think about stories around teamwork, how you've been able to work well within a team, how you've been able to achieve results within a team, so that when you're asked questions from whatever spectrum in the unexpected interview questions, you can always create relevant stories to answer. The last one, guys, is to always ensure that your personality is revealed, or that your personality shines in the answers that you give. So when I talk about your personality, I always say that personality is what defines, or rather it's what reveals who you truly are. And you may think that you can hide it. You really can't hide a personality. So when answering the questions, think about the personality that you like to display. Think about what you want to be known for. So if you're very sure about your personality, or if you're very clear about what you want to be known for, then you can articulate that in how you answer these questions. So next time you go to an interview and you're asked these questions that are unexpected, these questions around your personal life, these questions that you really didn't expect, stop wondering like, how then is this related to my being maybe considered for this job? How will this help them in the analysis? But rather focus more on just bringing out the things that I've shared that the interviewer want to test around your personality, around your critical thinking, around your decision making, problem solving, how you handle pressure, and your thought process. And you'll be able to answer this question in a more pleasant way. So that's what I had for you for this video. Let's continue with this conversation in the comment section. As always, thank you for watching. If you've not subscribed, please remember to do so. Also remember to share this video within your network so we can reach a large community and we can learn together as always. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video.